Hi, I'm Deacon John Wilson, Education Enrichment Director for West Angeles Church. Hope you're having a very Merry Christmas. Just want to cover a couple things about the CS profile. What is it, and do I need it? Well, see, everybody listening to this video won't need it, so I'll be very clear about who's going to need it and who's not. Very short video again. Hope you listen all the way to the end. CSS means College Scholarship Service. It's a College Board product. So you go to the College Board site to actually use it. What is it? Do I need it? The CS Profile is a College Board, like I said, online document. All right, it's an online document that requires additional financial and other information above and beyond the FAFSA. So you can see that your youth should have mostly schools that do not require the additional information, right? But occasionally and very often, most of the schools are. And I never have understood that. Here you have additional financial aid information we needed, which means that the college is going to look for additional reasons to not give you money. And yet that's the schools that most are on your list. Why not just take the ones that only require the FAFSA, especially when it's two parents involved and one of them is divorced and the one with the custodial responsibility makes very little money. The one with who's not custodial makes a lot of money. Now the school can make the student pay extra for college. So I hope you got that. That's pretty important. And that may be a good way of flushing out what schools you're really looking at versus what schools you will look at for your student, given the fact that you may have a parent that's what we call non-custodial. More on that later. If you're applying to selected private colleges, you may have a CSS profile requirement. It's submitted from the College Board website at www.collegeboard.com. Which colleges require the profile? CSUs, UCs, most local private colleges, public universities in the West, HBCUs, and black schools do not require the CS profile. So they do not require it, okay? Over 600 private colleges and a few public universities do require it. Considering there's 2,100, most schools do not require, 2,100 accredited schools, most do not require it. Some examples of schools locally that do require it: Occidental, USC. I see I don't have Chapman College there. They require it. All of the Claremont colleges require the CSS profile. So that gives you an example of the kind of schools locally that require it. Other examples of schools that require it: GW. GW, by the way, if you don't turn it in by January 1st, your student will not receive any financial aid. They don't give aid to students who do not complete it on time by midnight on the 1st. So if your student's going to GW, they need to submit that profile right now. Now, don't wait, do it right now. All Ivy League colleges require it. Georgetown University, Syracuse, and Fordham, they all require the CSS profile. Well, there's some CSS profile related processes, I should say, and information that's required. First of all, there's the non-custodial parents. Just about all the CSS profiles have now done that. When I first started this, most did not require non-custodial data, but now most do require it. After the CSS profile is submitted, College Board will send a link to the student stating the need for this financial information from the non-custodial parent. 55%, now 75%, of all CSS profile colleges require the non-custodial parent data. That's right, you heard it right. So if you're a single parent and you're struggling with finances, yet you have that your son or daughter has a parent who's very well off financially, it will hurt your student's chances of getting financial aid, of getting, I should say, adequate financial aid, because they'll want that parent to contribute. And it's very hard to get out of that requirement if your student is still seeing your parent, the non-custodial parent. Now, there are cases where they've not seen the non-custodial parent. That makes you candidate for a waiver, and I can help you with that if you want to give me a call. You can know that it's required by a college. There is a list, like I said. You can Google the CS Profile college list, look on the list and see if it's required. In fact, the list you pull up will say if the non-custodial parent is required also. Cost. The first CSS profile, yeah, it costs money. You have to pay to submit it. It's $25 plus $16 for each additional college. I didn't write that quite right. It's $41 for one college. See, 25 plus 16. And then 16 for each additional college. It's paid during the CSS submission. If your student has a fee waiver for the College Board, they'll have a fee waiver for the CS Profile. The CSS Profile colleges also require the federal income tax data and do not fully accept the FAFSA transcript and tax return data retrieval. Instead, you're going to send it to a third party known as the IDOC to upload the PDFs, all schedules from the 2019 federal income tax return, W-2s, etc., all uploaded to what we call the IDOC website. And then that third party shares it with the school. It's illegal for schools to directly receive that information. Student non-filer forms are also required. They're all required online. Once the CS profile is delivered, IDOC information will be sent for your student, to your student. GW is an exception to all this. They do require and expect to receive the actual tax return PDFs. You can send it to their fax number. They get a digital copy that way. Again, if you need some help, let me know. They're not very clear about that on their website, although they will email your student. But they require the actual tax return and the PDFs. Okay. Waivers of the non-custodial parent requirement is more difficult to get approved these days, but probably should be considered when applying to private colleges in the first place, like I said earlier. The cost of the profile is something to be considered when colleges are added. When you start adding colleges to your list, start adding those $16 fees, they add up. One person, I think last year, added 7 schools late. It was $102. And they never really submitted those profiles, so they wasted those applications. It's definitely a cost to do this. The online CSS profile has been streamlined, but is still very tedious. Yes, colleges do fully consider the NCP, non-custodial parents, property, equity, investment savings, their income doesn't have that here, and even the 529 savings in determining your student's need for college, for financial aid. All right, I hope that helped. I hope that gave you some insight to the non-custodial, both the non-custodial requirement, but really the CSS profile requirement. Of course, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer any that you have. God bless you. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year if I don't see you. Bye-bye now.